This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
I'm ready. I just started recording. Okay, so ready?
Ready now.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 167 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
They work together. They fit together. They bond, and they are Groot.
And then I see them live at the press conference, and I'm like, wow, their heads are really small.
Did Kurt Russell at all take you out of the movie, Joe?
Believe it or not, no. And it may have been the bushy beard and the big head.
Like, it's like Disney Infinity is coming to life.
Oh. Real? Played by Miley Cyrus? How do you feel when you go to a science fiction convention and you see people dressed up as your characters?
I really want to punch them out.
I'm Groot.
No!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Hello, Skywalkers.
Listen!
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Wow. Oh,
You are skywalking through Neverland.
Hey, Skywalkers! Welcome to
Skywalking Through Neverland.
This is your fun-filled Star Wars and Disney podcast that leads you on a tour through decades of fandom. I am Richard Woloski, and now everyone please say hello to my sweetie wife Sarah. Without her, I am not Groot.
I'm Groot.
Aw, but that's because we are Groot.
Exactly.
Oh, I took your comment and ran with it.
Little foreshadowing of what's to come on today's episode.
Yeah, and I'd like to say hello to our Star Wars, Disney, and Marvel family, because this episode is all about Marvel, and we like to start each and every show with a giant Wookiee hug to our family of Skywalkers who listen to the show every week, the Scope Walkers over here, and the Face Huggers over here who watch live stream, and hopefully this week we'll be able to put our live show on YouTube so that people can watch it later. That'll be fun. And then also, we'd like to thank everyone who tweets at us at SkywalkingPod or just posts in our Facebook group and shares the positivity about our collective adventure through fandom.
This is where you go to find the bright, positive center of fandom. Now, we are recording this from Long Beach, California on May the 2nd, 2017. Now, Sarah, you got all day to prepare for this. What time is it?
Guess what?
You're not ready, are you?
I'm not prepared.
That's why we're recording so late, so you can prepare for this. But still, every single week.
It's 9:11. Good night.
Oh, she said good night. Oh, it's so cute.
I never heard her talk at night.
I know, me either. We're always in the morning or at noon. Remember at noon, one time we had it at like noon and then 12:01 and she said good morning and then she said good afternoon?
Yeah.
That was so cute.
All within a blink.
I know.
All right, now let's talk about what's coming up on today's power-packed episode. We're going to be talking Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Oh,
Now,
exciting.
we're going to be reviewing the film as well as the star-studded press conference that featured stars Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Sylvester Stallone, Kurt Russell, who I just wanted to yell out, "You're Jack Burton!"
Dave Bautista, Michael Rooker, director James Gunn, and then, of course, overseer and producer Kevin Feige, and then a few more from the cast. There was so many of them that we had to break it up into two chunks, two press conferences.
Well, we didn't do that. They did that.
Well, it's true.
They didn't ask for our permission. They just went ahead and did it. How dare they?
Yeah.
Now, joining us for this discussion will be our new friend, Joe Deckelmeier from ScreenRant and That Hashtag Show. Now, just to forewarn everyone once again, there will be spoilers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's really no way to talk in depth about Guardians of the Galaxy without giving away a few things. Even at the press conference, they gave away a few things. So we did hold back on some surprises, though. But if you want to go into the film fresh, please wait until after you see it to hear this episode. Just letting you know.
well, the film is just so packed and so tight that no matter what, you're going to miss things the first go around.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So all that stuff will be filled in by listening to this show. Now, we also have shout-outs, a Skywalker of the Week, and a new contest in Things We Want to Share. But first, let's reveal the winner of last week's Yub Dub Challenge. This is where we play a foreign dub from a Star Wars or Disney film, and then you tweet at us if you know the film, the scene, and the language. Now, once again, here's the clip we played last week.
ちょっと無理だな。偉大な戦士を探している。
ああ、偉大な戦士か。戦いで人は偉くはならん。
All right, now, if you guessed the scene from The Empire Strikes Back where Luke first meets Yoda, then you were correct.
And now, here is the original English clip.
I'm looking for someone.
Looking? Found someone you have, I would say.
Right.
Help you I can. Yes.
Oh, that's what it was.
However, this may have been a little bit harder since no one got it exactly right.
No.
The past clips we've done either has the music or Darth Vader breathing, so it was a little bit easier.
Yeah.
This time, we gave a harder clip.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one who did come the closest was Brian Sims. Hey, Brian Sims just joined us. Good timing, Brian.
Brian, you guessed Return of the Jedi, Jabba, and Japanese. None of those were right, but you were the closest.
Hold on, addendum. It was in Japanese.
Oh, it wasn't. Oh, okay. So one of those things was right.
Right.
Woo!
So, not the right film or the right scene, but you know what, Brian? That was a hard one, and you got Japanese, so you were the closest.
So you get our respect.
What else more do you need? All right, now with that, let's go on to Things We Want to Share.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
Last week, we went to the Guardians of the Galaxy press conference where they gave away swag.
Loved the swag.
So we're going to give it to you.
That's right. And what are they going to win?
Oh.
Where is it?
Where is it? It's out on the couch.
Hold on.
Hold on. Okay, he's going to go get it. We got
Dancing Baby Groot. Yes. All right, now, one of you Skywalkers will have the chance to win this life-size Baby Groot. Now, when I say life-size, I mean from the end of the last film, where he was very tiny. But this is like, what, 8 or 9 inches? This is pretty big. All right, Sarah, tell the Skywalkers out there how they have a chance to win a Dancing Baby Groot.
Okay. Well, our current giveaway, you could win this Baby Groot. Just head to skywalkingthroughneverland.com and click on the giveaway tab. Follow the directions on the Rafflecopter widget that's in that post, and you'll tweet some things. You'll follow our various social media, including YouTube and Instagram this time. And the more things you do, the more entries you'll get to win this cute little Baby Groot.
Dancing Baby Groot.
Dancing Baby Groot. And the contest runs until Monday, May 8th at midnight, and we will announce a winner on next week's episode 168. So be sure to tune in.
Now, who doesn't want a Dancing Baby Groot?
I know!
All right, you're going to wear down the battery. All right, stop making him dance. You're going to wear it down.
I'm sorry.
All right. So, there you have it, guys. That could be yours.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. And we will be doing a couple more giveaways, too, on social media, like different things. So look at our Twitter. Make sure to follow us at SkywalkingPod. Follow us on Instagram at SkywalkingPod, because we could be doing some different contests there for some different things, including stuff having to do with the soundtrack.
Yeah, we got a big bag of Guardians of the Galaxy giveaways.
Yeah.
And that could all be yours. All right, now let's give a brief synopsis of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 so we're all caught up. Now, we pick up a few months after the first film leaves off, and the Guardians are protecting these valuable batteries from the sovereign race, led by the Golden Leader, Aisha.
She is gold.
Yeah, you can't miss her. In exchange for their protection, they will get Nebula, Gamora's sister, who was caught trying to steal these batteries. Now, after defeating a giant space whale and collecting Nebula, Rocket steals a few of these batteries for himself on the way out. But the Sovereign find out before they can get too far and attack. But with no luck in destroying the Guardians, Aisha hires Yondu. Remember Yondu?
Of course, he's Peter Quill / Star-Lord's surrogate father.
Exactly. She hires him to bring them in. So we're going to get some conflict there. And from here, layers of family start piling on between Nebula and her sister Gamora, Yondu and Peter, the Guardians themselves, and the long-awaited reunion between Peter and his father, Ego. But when Ego reveals his master plan to his son, Peter's not quite on board, and he and his family of Guardians fight to save and restore peace to the galaxy.
All right, now that we have that synopsis, let's bring on our guest for this episode and talk some Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And in case you missed it the first go-round, there will be spoilers. And in case you missed that warning, here is another warning.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Spoilers ahead. Spoilers ahead.
So we're saving the galaxy again?
Yep.
Awesome! We're really going to be able to jack up our price if we're two-time galaxy savers.
Sometimes the thing you're searching for your whole life, it's right there by your side all along.
You're right.
All you do is yell at each other. You're not friends.
No, we're family.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is one of the most eagerly awaited movies this year and will be hitting a theater near you this Friday, May 5th. With so many unanswered questions from their first film in 2014, fans have been eager to see where their Guardians will go from here, who Peter Quill's father is, and how much cuter can Baby Groot get.
So let's welcome Joe Deckelmeier, writer for ScreenRant and the creator and host of that hashtag show, to discuss the film and the press conference held last week.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, guys, how are you?
We are excited to talk some Guardians of the Galaxy with you.
Yeah, this is our
Me
big
too.
Guardians episode.
Yeah.
Now, before we dive into the Guardians, you've been away this past week. Any Hawaiian trips you want to tell us about?
I was on a trip in Hawaii for a studio that could be related to the Guardians of the Galaxy, but we were out there for a few days on a set visit.
How exciting!
Yeah, it was very cool.
Oh my goodness. So this must have been for a movie in production?
I wouldn't say movie, but it's something that's in production.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Does
Little
it-
tease there.
Does it rhyme with Howard the Duck?
It doesn't quite rhyme with Howard the Duck.
All right, then.
That's because it rhymes with Daisy the Duck.
Closer.
Well, I see where you're going with that.
I do?
You know, there's enough hints right there.
Okay.
So we don't want to get Joe in trouble.
Okay.
All right. So let's move on and talk about you, Joe. Now, you've worked for Marvel in the past, not just with set visits, but actually in the corporation, right? What exactly did you do?
Marvel Studios. So I started there, I think it was like 2008 when they were still in Manhattan Beach. I started on Iron Man 2 as a researcher. I live in Manhattan Beach, and at the time I had just come from like a lot of reality TV, and I knew that the studio was new and it was opening. So I applied, and I ended up getting a job as a researcher. So I couldn't really complain that much when your job is to read Iron Man comics and figure out. And,
what?
Yeah, my job specifically was to figure out how many times Iron Man had suit changes throughout like a 10-year run.
How many times did he suit? How many?
I want to say it was like 67 or something, but just minor details and stuff like that. It was crazy. So I ended up working there for a while, and then I moved up to being like a staff production coordinator. Mm-hmm. And then I left after Captain America: The First Avenger. Actually, I left right in the beginning of Captain America: First Avenger because they ended up moving some of the production out of Manhattan Beach. And then I came back very shortly for Ant-Man for a little bit.
Ooh.
But that was it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, why did you leave? Just because
I
of
left
location?
because I had been there for a while and I got a higher position somewhere else.
Okay.
So I figured it was time to go. I kind of wish I would have stayed though a little bit because then right after I left, they got acquired by Disney.
Oh.
So it'd have been a lot different. But on the flip side of that, maybe that wouldn't have been the best choice because I do live in Manhattan Beach and Glendale is not super close to that.
Right.
And then from Marvel, where did you go from there?
After Marvel, I went to a few different places. I went to NBC Universal for a while. Mm-hmm. And I stayed there for a good amount of time. I was also, before Marvel, I was also at G4 for a while. So I had my kind of roots in the like live television background. So I was doing that, and then also getting hashtag show off the ground at the same time.
Nice.
And that took up a lot of time, But I was at a small production company called Kinetic Content, which was a German-based company. So we were doing a lot of shows for them for a while, and I ended up becoming an associate producer. And then a producer at NBC Universal, and that's kind of what I'm doing now. Well, besides all this other stuff like ScreenRant and hashtag show.
Wow.
Now, hashtag show is a show that you created and you host, which can be seen on YouTube. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the way that came about was right after G4 kind of ended. There was a void left in like the geek entertainment world. So the one thing I loved about G4, it was like Entertainment Tonight for geeks. Mm-hmm. It was like you can get everything you wanted in the geek world in that one place. And it was done fun. So I tried to somewhat recreate that. And I had enough contacts at NBC Universal and the Sci-Fi Channel to maybe pitch this had it gotten some legs. But now everything's changed so much since then that digital media is such a big platform that I almost feel like it would be a disservice to pitch it to a network because I feel like most people now are watching television and films or whatever on like streaming services. Right. So that's a whole nother like ball game altogether. But I really did it to give a fun take on like geek news and geek entertainment, and so people just can kind of relate to what we do.
These are like bite-sized shows, like 10 to 12 minutes.
Some, yeah. Then we do after shows that are about an hour on particular shows. We do some of the DC shows and like Power Rangers and anime. So they have a Doctor Who. There's a big wide variety of like geekdom. I think tomorrow they're doing a video game stream. So we try to cover everything.
Wow.
In the geek world.
So for those shows, you do like a commentary after the show has aired, like Gotham or Flash. Or Shield.
Exactly. Flash is a great example. That'll be going live tomorrow or whenever that airs. But it'll be Flash is a great example. So we do like a live breakdown of the show and like where the characters are going and stuff like that.
Okay. And
all right. So what do you like better, Marvel or DC?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot there. So funny story. I grew up a huge Superman fan, but I will say now I am definitely a Marvel guy.
Yeah, that's like my journey too. I was so into Superman as a kid, and then the Marvel movies just took over, man.
Yeah,
I know they do them so well, and I always have a good time. And I think what I love about the Marvel films in general is that for the most part, you come out of every single movie feeling very uplifted and very like happy.
Oh, very true. Whereas DC's got great films like Man of
Batman versus...
No, can't go there either.
Well, hopefully Wonder Woman.
I'm hoping Wonder Woman, for a multitude of reasons why I hope Wonder Woman does well, but I hope it does really well. First, it's our first big budget female superhero directed by a female director. I think I'm really excited for it. I hope it does well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been so much buzz about this, and I think superhero audiences have been waiting years or decades for this film. And they've gone through so many iterations in pre-production that just never made it. Now, finally, now that we have trailers, we're gonna get the film. We even have movie posters. So
yes,
bring it on. Come on, June. All right, now after all that, let's dive into some Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Just who do you think you are?
He says, welcome to the frickin' Guardians of the Galaxy.
Now, what are your reactions to the film, Joe?
So my first initial reaction after watching the movie is I really, really enjoyed it. However, I think the first movie was better in terms of story. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed certain aspects of this movie, but the more and more I think about this movie now, the more and more I enjoyed it, which I was telling Richard yesterday. I think that this movie is the first actual sequel in the same genre of a Marvel film that outdoes its predecessor. For example, all the Captain America films, all the sequels are great, but every single one of those movies are a different genre. The first movie is a period piece, the second movie is a political thriller, and the third movie is another Avengers movie.
Right.
This movie, however, is still the same genre, but it's still very good. I can't say that about every Marvel movie. I'm not a big fan of Thor: Dark World.
Okay.
And I thought that Avengers: Age of Ultron wasn't as good as the first Avengers movie.
I agree with you there. Definitely.
So overall, I really, really enjoyed this movie. And the more I think about it, I like the fact that it actually is somewhat of a self-contained story about these characters and about family. I really like that.
Yeah. They really went above and beyond to nail that theme home, and I was so glad they did. And there was just so many characters with so many different family issues and backgrounds. It was great, and each character got their own arc within the film.
Yeah, they really did.
Yeah. All right, Sarah, what is your reaction?
So my reaction, I too felt that it wasn't quite as good as the first movie of Guardians of the Galaxy. Because, I mean, when you saw Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, you did not know what to expect, and it kind of blew you away. So this one, I was expecting a bit of a wild ride again, and I did get that. We got the humor. So I think the humor was spot on. I think the tone was spot on. It was, like, very similar to Guardians of the Galaxy, and just that very irreverent humor. That so populates.
That James Gunn humor.
Yeah, it's great. And I did also appreciate the delving into the backstories of these characters, including especially like Gamora and Nebula, the fact that they were sisters and where their dissension comes from. I really appreciated that we got to see more of that. And just how crazy Nebula was. And then later seeing in the press conference what this cute little girl was. Like, you're Nebula? Yeah. What? It was so weird. But, so my overall impression, of course, I mean, Baby Groot, you can't stop looking at him.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah. And then, but my final takeaway from this film, honestly, was I want to see it in 3D IMAX. Because I think that's what helped the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that's what helped blow it away for me, and I think it would just be much better to see this movie in 3D IMAX.
That's a great point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Now, for me, Guardians of the Galaxy was a fun roller coaster ride like Star Wars. And the second volume here, to me, has the same feel as The Empire Strikes Back, where it has darker tones, and we're diving more into family. And
I am your father.
Yeah. And Baby Groot is like the Yoda, where he is very funny, very cute, but he has some pivotal moments.
Okay.
And
interesting.
And that's how, when I was watching this, I saw a lot of those similarities, because it was much darker in tone than the original. It didn't go so fun and let's just bounce off the walls and see what sticks. But this, it really had more of a direction. And because they were diving in more into backstories and everyone had the backstory to go through, it slowed down for periods, especially during the third act, where I thought, this could be like 20 minutes shorter.
I agree.
Yeah, that was one place I felt they could have tweaked a little bit, because in the first film, you get this one moment where the 5 Guardians are holding hands, and it's like that is the pinnacle climax of the film. Now, in this movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, can you give me a moment like that?
Yeah, there wasn't a "we are Groot" moment.
You know, I think, Sarah, that you brought up a really, really great point, though, that the first movie was just so unexpected. See, Marvel took a really big chance on making Guardians 1 because nobody really knew who they were. Mm-hmm. And I think that was kind of the charm of the first one, is that you really were getting introduced to these characters for the first time. Even longtime comic readers were almost getting introduced to this iteration of the Guardians for the first time. And now I think maybe it's we put a lot of pressure on it because it was such a good movie that came from out of nowhere. But I agree with you guys that maybe that kind of like playing that into my head affected my, I don't want to say my enjoyment, because I did enjoy the movie, but it affected my viewing pleasure of comparing it to the first one. Maybe I shouldn't just compare it, though.
Right, yeah, I should try to take it on its own merit.
I think they do a great job in not just doing a sequel, but doing a continuation, like, once again, The Empire Strikes Back, because this film starts 3 months after the original.
Okay.
So now they are fully formed heroes, but soon to be more anti-heroes.
Right.
Yeah, now, with that, there was that... Now, explain to me about this, because this is where I got kind of confused. Going in the beginning, their first job is to protect the sovereign and the people, right, and they had these assets to protect.
Right.
And then you get an attack by this big space whale. And
it's like an interdimensional creature.
Right. And then we cut away to Baby Groot as he's dancing along because he's listening to the music. And I know they didn't want to repeat themselves, but this little sequence, to me, mirrored too much Peter Quill's dance segment in the original Guardians of the Galaxy. When he's dancing to "Come On and Get Your Love," I felt this was too much of a mirror when Baby Groot shouldn't be the pivotal character here. And why are we following him when there's a big battle going on in the background? Sure, it was fun. Sure, it was funny to watch, and you just wanted to pick up Groot and just give him a big hug.
Yeah, that was a little strange too. I mean, I did enjoy it off the initially watching it. I mean, anytime you give me Baby Groot on screen, I'm a happy guy. Because Baby Groot is adorable, and I think we all want to own a real Baby Groot. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, I agree with you, because there's so much. I mean, I do want to see this again for a second time, because I know in that scene there's so much going on in the background, like besides Groot trying to catch like little bugs and stuff. But there's so much going on in that scene, and it's done beautifully. Like the colors in that scene and the action in that scene, there's so much going on, but we're concentrated, our eyes are focused on little Baby Groot. I don't necessarily know why that choice was, though, because it wasn't really advancing anything per se.
Well, I honestly don't agree with you guys. I think that was a perfect way to introduce this movie, because what it's doing, it's shifting focus. It's, you want to look at the battle, but it's making you focus on Groot, and it's kind of a call out to say, hey, this movie is going to be different. It's going to be a little bit out of focus from your normal Marvel film. It was like calling out, yes, it was a callback to the first film, but I think it was also just an indication of, hey, this movie is going to be a little bit different. We're going to have a different focus. It's going to work. And to me, I really thought that first scene captured the tone of the film and brought that fun, and like it just kind of got you primed for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, the opening scene actually reminds me, I mean, this isn't a proper Marvel property, but it reminded me a lot of Deadpool, actually. Where
yeah?
It was very much like Deadpool was doing his own thing, and it was like this whole action sequence thing that was going on, but it was music playing. It reminded me so much of that opening sequence that it just felt like I had seen it before, but not as cute, obviously.
Okay.
Now, my takeaway from this is that if we start with a dancing Baby Groot, we can do no wrong. And
that's what you think they were thinking?
I don't know. I don't want to think that it was a budgetary thing where we can't really show this whole big battle.
I don't think it was a budgetary thing at all.
I don't either. I just want an explanation. This was actually one of the questions I had wanted to ask James Gunn at the press conference, but I wasn't picked, and I would have had a really hard time structuring this question. But there was a specific reason why you focused on a side character during a big battle.
Yeah, I just think it was for the tone and for the fun.
But after Groot had finished his dance scene, they did go back into the battle, and that battle was a lot of fun to watch because here you have Drax. He's thinking, you know what? I know how to handle this. I'll get inside the belly of the beast and destroy it from within. So he's jumping inside the mouth of this big space whale. That's funny.
I love Drax in this movie. The one thing though that kind of felt missing about that character though was that he seemed obviously way more lighthearted, but he still hasn't had any real resolution from the first film. So I felt like if it's only like a 3-month period, and I understand, though, that it's all due to the family that's surrounding him now is almost a surrogate family, I guess, in a sense. But it just seemed like there was, like, it was the tone was a little off for me on that character. But I did love him in the movie, and I love his relationship with Mantis. It's so great.
And his laugh.
Yo, yes, the big belly laugh. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a question about that on the press conference.
Yeah. Now, the main question I had about this, so the Guardians, they're protecting these big batteries from the Sovereign. They get paid, a job well done. They are now really officially the Guardians of the Galaxy. And as they're taking off, we see that Rocket has stolen some of these batteries. Now, I know this is Rocket from Volume 1, but I would like to think he had grown from there, and he's not just a petty thief anymore, and that just jumpstarts the whole plot because now the Sovereign figure out what's happening, and now they're all after the Guardians. But my question is, did that not sit well with you, Joe? That the fact that one of our new likable, lovable heroes is still a petty thief, like in the first film?
I was fine with it mainly because I think that getting the point across of that Rocket is still Rocket and he hasn't changed. I think the great thing they did in this film was developing his similarity with Yondu, and I think that through that we got to see with him still being a thief that he hasn't necessarily changed his ways. They're both characters filled with a lot of void in them, and I think that it was a great way to show that Rocket is still almost like this space pirate to an extent. But he does have like a sense of a family. I actually liked that that Rocket still hasn't fully embraced and become that lovable, like little creature that you expect him to be. I like the fact that he's still like he's still a smart mouth little bad guy.
No one pet him in this movie.
Yes.
But when we see it in 3D, I do want to pet him.
Oh, that was
yeah,
so cute.
if he had just taken one of those batteries as a souvenir or a trophy, not really understanding the repercussions, then yeah, okay, fine. But I just thought this was above his character, and they needed a way to jumpstart the plot.
Right.
Which I think, I don't know. I don't know either. But after that, the film was just so much fun, and I don't know when we've laughed so much at a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Between Peter Quill, between Drax, Rocket, Baby Groot, Gamora, as serious as Gamora is, she's funny.
Mm-hmm. And then of course the little palm. What?
Oh, Mantis.
Mantis. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was hilarious.
She's great. I loved her. She was awesome.
Yeah.
Was there a scene that stuck out to you, Joe? Like the next day, what scene did you keep thinking about?
Oh, that's a great question. You know what? I don't think it's any one particular scene. I think it's more so I just really fell in love with the Drax and Mantis relationship because I like the fact that, I like how he's so disgusted by her.
Oh yeah.
and he has no problem telling her that. And they laugh about it, and it's like this cute brother-sister relationship about him telling him that, don't worry, you're beautiful on the inside kind of a message. I really, really like that.
Which was funny because she's so darn cute.
Uh-huh.
Yes, so innocent. Here's one question I had about Mantis. I know I'm jumping around a little bit. Something that I seemed a little confused by was that, do you think that she warmed up to the Guardians a little too fast from being with Ego for such a long time?
No, I think because Ego had accepted them, that it was her job to also accept them.
She was so young. She's kind of like his puppy, if you think about, in a way.
Sure.
And so, like, if you're the master and you have this puppy and you invite people in, then all of a sudden the puppy loves those people too, I think.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Even not having owned a puppy?
Sometimes puppies can be kind of hesitant.
Oh, yeah?
But I think because Ego had accepted, this is his son, and then his friends, who are now his family, are now Ego's family. Ego being Star-Lord's dad, played by Kurt Russell.
Right.
And I think that was her role. That was her job, to do whatever her master says. And if her master accepts them, so does she.
Exactly.
Now, Sarah, was there a scene that really stuck out to you, or an experience, or a part of the film?
So, yes, Kurt Russell's hair. It was just so perfect and wavy, and like his head was so big on the screen, and I just remember just like being mesmerized by his hair. And then when he's talking to Chris Pratt, Star-Lord, his hair, and then I see them live at the press conference, and I'm like, wow, their heads are really small.
And that's going to be the caption for Sarah's review in Guardians of the Galaxy. Their heads are big, but yet they're small.
That just stuck out to me. I'm sorry. But
that's weird, but it's okay.
It is weird, I know. But in terms of a scene, I'll give you this. How about this?
Okay.
I really appreciated, well, honestly, I was kind of taken aback by all the death we saw. Like when
let's not go too far into that. I mean, we've already said we can spoil, but specific deaths, let's not mention that.
Well, I meant mass scenes. Well, not okay. I was really taken aback by some of the, not death, but what is it called when it's?
It's not like in the scene any principals were killed.
Exactly.
So pretty much Yondu's taking over this ship, and he and the Ravagers are shoving these people out of the airlock into space, and their heads and faces just collapse onto themselves.
Like dozens and dozens of Ravagers.
Who are you?
Yeah, and that kind of took me aback, because I don't remember anything like that in the first film. And then when Yondu takes back his ship with his lovely
the arrow?
The arrow, thank you. That was me whistling or trying to. Yes. Yeah, that. I can't do that. Anyway, his arrow, and there were so many Ravagers still left. It's like, wow, how many people did you have on your ship to begin with? But
that's a big ship.
Yeah, I thought that was neat because they did it with music, and it was really cool. It was just it took me aback at all this mass murder. It's like, oh my.
That's another thing too. Now that we're talking about it, the one scene that also sticks out for me too is when they they give Baby Groot like the little Ravager's uniform. They pour, I don't know, some kind of like beverage on him, and they bully him. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah.
You two? What's the matter with you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, maybe we need to go to you then. What scene sticks out for you?
Peter Quill just wanted a father moment.
Yeah.
Since he was a little boy,
father-son moment?
Yeah. All he wanted to do was what he saw the other father and sons do, and play catch. Something as simple as playing catch. So now here's Ego and Star-Lord playing catch with this little Magna ball.
Energy ball.
And throwing it back and forth at like a 4-foot distance. I
love that.
That was one of those, Peter finally has exactly what he's always wanted. Because he said earlier in the film, all he wanted to do was play catch with the father, but his father was never there.
Aww.
And now here they are playing catch. Between that and then the soundtrack was unbelievable.
It was great.
They kick in some more 70s classic rock songs.
Yep.
They included one of my favorite songs of all time, The Chain by Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
But yet, here comes this phenomenal sequence, all based around George Harrison's My Sweet Lord. Oh, Lord. This was one of the best sequences. I'll say it is the best sequence in any Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Wow.
So I would say those two parts of the film really stuck out to me. One having to do with family, one having to do that highlighted this awesome soundtrack once again with Volume 2.
Nice.
Now, I know I kind of brought this up earlier, and to wrap up this part of the discussion, Joe, do you think that using Baby Groot was a safety net in any way? Because they did use a lot of Baby Groot. Do you think they used it more than they should have?
No, actually, I think they used him the perfect amount. And I think now that we're talking about this, Sarah, you're right about the opening sequence, because I think that's the most, or maybe not the most, but that's definitely where we get a huge Baby Groot highlight. And the other highlight really comes when they send Baby Groot to steal, I don't remember what it was, but to steal something when they were locked up in the prison on the Ravager ship. Those are the two big shining Baby Groot moments. Other than that, and pushing the button, I guess. But other than that, like, he was kind of a background character, and the story really did highlight everybody else really, really well, surprisingly, because that's a really large cast to highlight to take on to fit into one movie, and to still give everybody their own specific storyline, like the Nebula Gamora stuff. Like, that stuff was great, and I'm glad that we finally got to see that felt like a real sister relationship and a real sister rivalry. And then we got a lot with Mantis, more so than I was actually expecting, and her relationship with the Guardians, and especially Drax, and how she kind of views everything. And then we got a ton of Peter and Ego stuff. Then we even got Yondu and Rocket bonding. Yeah, we got their bonding, and out of that, it almost seemed like Peter became Groot's surrogate father in a way. So there's everything was interconnected. It was done so well. But no, I think the usage of the Baby Groot was perfect.
Okay.
I'm almost thinking they used Baby Groot in this film the way Phantom Menace used Jar Jar for comic relief in such a dark, heavy, thematic film that's, dealing with all the politics, and they needed something to bring the kids into the story as well. I felt like that. I mean, as much as I could watch Baby Groot sitting in that chair watching the battle like he's watching a big screen TV all day long. But sometimes I kind of felt like, and because he didn't have his own story to tell, maybe they needed just to keep coming back to him just to remind the audience that he is still there, he is still a character.
I'm Groot.
Huh.
Yeah, like he's still a part of that team.
Yeah, so I just wanted other opinions.
Yeah.
And believe me, I'm not complaining.
Right. Yeah, I think through us talking about it, it's actually remarkable how much they did fit in this movie in terms of character relationships and things. And I'm definitely eager to see this again.
Oh, you have to see this a couple of times, because there's so many characters with so many complete story arcs. That's very hard to do in one film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think there might even be a lot more Easter eggs that we probably didn't even catch when they're traveling throughout these planets where their faces are getting all morphed up and stuff, and they're traveling. I think that they could have landed on several different planets that we may, have to watch again and just to connect it into the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, there are Easter eggs within the Marvel Universe, and there's one big major one that I won't spoil because it was so much fun for me to see.
Yes.
And
although by saying that, you probably spoiled it.
Yeah, very much so. and not knowing so much about the Guardians of the Galaxy mythology, I don't know all the characters.
Right.
Like when we met with Stallone, Starhawk, and he had his own team, there were people in the audience going, "Whoa, there's this person and there's that person," but I had no idea who they were.
Yeah, me either. All right, well, before we finish up this discussion, Joe, where would you rank Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in the MCU?
Good question. So my favorite Marvel movie, just to let you guys know where my scale is, my favorite Marvel movie of all time is Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Ooh, okay.
I think that movie does a brilliant job of bringing the superheroes, or making the superhero genre more than just the superhero movie. It was like a great political thriller that almost anybody can watch. You can almost forget it's Captain America. In terms of ranking it in the MCU, I think that Guardians is definitely, besides Captain America, I think it's the best sequel of the MCU, besides Civil War. I think it has to be right around, like, man, I don't know. It's probably right around. It's because I think it's better than the Thor movies. I actually think it's better than Age of Ultron. So in terms of sequels, I would say it's the second best. In terms of overall, it falls somewhere in the top, but definitely not at the top.
Okay.
All right, Sarah, what do you think?
For me right now, I want to see it again, but right now, I think it would fall in the middle of the pack for me. I think I'm with you that it's better than Age of Ultron. Captain America's are definitely on top. Yeah, so middle. I'm going to say middle of the pack because it's hard for me to quantify at this moment in time.
Okay.
What about you, Richard?
Well, for me, I'm going to say Captain America Civil War, because if you had showed an 8-year-old...
That's your first...
An 8-year-old Richard, Captain America Civil War, with 25 superheroes in it, I would have spiraled into dust.
So that's your top movie,
That would
right?
be my top movie.
Okay.
But
mine too, actually.
It's just always good to know what the top and the bottom is. And I kind of want to say that for bottom would be like... would be Doctor Strange, but...
Oh, interesting.
I would say that would be like my least favorite. It's not the worst.
Right.
It's an awesome film, but of all the films, so there's the range right there. And I would say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 for me would fall somewhere about a little less than halfway down.
Okay.
Wait, Richard, you're ranking Doctor Strange below Iron Man 2?
Yes. I love me some Iron Man. And I could watch that movie over and over. And Iron Man 3, I love me some Iron Man movies.
Yeah, see, some of it is about the characters, I think.
I do like Iron Man 3 as well. It feels very much like a buddy cop movie. My only problem with Civil War, though, was... And I love the film, too. And I think, like, if I'm with you. If you give 8-year-old me that movie, I'd freak out, too. But I took my dad to see that movie, and he had never seen a Marvel movie before that, and he had no idea what was going on. So it doesn't, for me, really equate as a great standalone movie. You have to watch at least a couple of the other movies to get the full scope of what's really going on. And I think in Guardians 2, Volume 2 especially, I think that you don't necessarily have to watch the first movie to understand this movie. I mean, you do need a little setup, but it's still a pretty good standalone movie.
Right.
Oh, yeah. As a standalone movie, you could never watch Civil War.
Right.
Knowing, what are all these costume characters? What's going on?
I mean, the great thing about Civil War is if you were plugged into the Marvel Universe, that movie blew your mind.
Exactly.
You have a Spider-Man in this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad saw Vision, and he was like, who is this purple guy? What is going on?
See, when I first saw the Vision, I think I cried. I just loved it. And the only part I would ever cut out of Civil War is when Spider-Man doesn't know The Empire Strikes Back.
Hey guys, you ever seen that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back?
But that was funny.
It was funny, but if you're over, if you're my age, that's not funny. All right, now with that, let's now go into this press conference because there's a lot of questions to be answered here.
Showtime, a-hole.
This was broken up into two different parts because we had so many different directors and producers and cast members. So let's go now with the first press conference that featured director James Gunn, Kurt Russell, who played Ego, Chris Pratt, Star-Lord, and Peter Quill.
And he kept looking at me.
Michael Rooker, who played Yondu, Elizabeth Debicki, who played Aisha, she's the gold girl, the head of the Sovereign, and producer Kevin Feige. Now, one of the first questions was, in coming back, was there one thing that you wanted to make sure that you didn't mess up? I think that was a great first question.
Yeah, definitely.
And here is what James Gunn had to say.
I wanted to continue the film from the first movie. You know, it was so many sequels are not good. And the primary reason in studying them seemed to be that so many of them just kind of do the same thing the first movie did with a different template. And so they say, oh, people like the dance-off in the first movie. So what's our version of the dance-off? People liked We Are Groot in the first movie. What's our version of We Are Groot? And instead of doing that, we really tried to let these characters grow and change. We want to watch them become new people and different people in every film that we come up with. And I think allowing them to just sort of be themselves and do their thing. I know that sounds strange because I'm writing what they say, but sometimes I'm just letting it happen inside my own imagination and letting the characters go where they wanted to go. I think the thing that I didn't want to mess up was just trying to be a rehash of the first movie. I think people were surprised by the first movie. People have been surprised by the second film. And to give people something new and something different from what they already had.
I mean, I like the fact that James kind of wanted it to be different, and he didn't want to say, "Oh, you had the dance sequence in this movie. You know, what was going to be that version of that in this movie?"
So
I like that.
That's when my hand shot up.
Okay.
And I was going to ask, so the dance scene in the first film with Peter Quill.
Right.
Now we
on
get
that
a
planet.
dance scene in the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with Groot. Yeah, it kind of felt the same. Explain.
Just at different points in the movie, right?
Well, it was the beginning of the film. I don't mean the dance off with Peter Quill at the end.
At the end.
Where he had a dance up against Lee Pace's character.
Yeah.
I forgot. Ronan?
Ronan, yes.
Thank you.
But in the beginning of this film, we Baby Groot mirrored
Peter
Quill in the first film.
Oh, that's right. I completely forgot that Quill does that whole dance thing on that one planet.
On the planet, when he's getting the orb for the first time.
Yes, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to ask him. But I'm glad that he sees this as a continuation, and he didn't feel the need to have a "We Are Groot" moment. Because then you're expecting that every time you see another Guardians film, you're going to expect like that. Like when people went to go see an M. Night Shyamalan movie after The Sixth Sense, they're always going to be okay, where's the twist? Where's the twist? Where's the twist?
Yeah.
I mean, it could be worse. It could have been The Hangover, where like it's the exact same movie for all the sequels.
That's very true.
I think you're the first person in history to ever compare these two genres.
For the most part, though, I think he did a really good job of. I think James Gunn did a really, really good job of really advancing not so much the overarching Marvel Cinematic Infinity Gem story, but the personal story of the Guardians of the Galaxy. It feels like they're way more well-rounded in this movie than the first one, obviously because we're seeing them for a second time. But I think he did a good job with that stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, and once again, I think he can write humor better than anyone else in the MCU.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
Do you think that when James Gunn is kind of finished with this whole the space side of Marvel, do you think that the tone of the space side is going to change completely of the cosmic Marvel Cinematic Universe? Because we've only really seen it through James Gunn's eyes.
Well, we've seen it in Doctor Strange.
Didn't we see it in Thor as well? I mean, Thor: The Dark World, we saw some space.
Oh, yeah, we guess we do kind of get it there a little bit too, right?
Yeah. You know what? Let's focus, because Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 introduced some new characters. So Kurt Russell was sitting on that panel.
I was so excited. I was literally a couple of feet away from Snake Plissken, Jack Burton, the guy from Overboard.
Wyatt Earp.
Earp. There you go.
Even though his head was a lot smaller than I thought.
This is one of my childhood heroes just because of all the Disney films he's done as well.
Well, okay, so exactly. And you know what? The press had asked him about coming back into the Disney family.
I feel like I do have a special relationship with Disney, but the truth of the matter is every time you go to work, you got to make the team. Doesn't make any difference what movie, what television show, whatever it is. You have to go in there and hopefully make them feel good about the decision they made to hire you. That's just the way it is. You can't walk in there and go, hey, done a bunch of stuff. You've all seen it, haven't you? So we're good, right? It's like, so what? You have to. You're only as good as your last at bat. So I just wanted to make the team. I wanted to be helpful, wanted to be good, and I was very, very fortunate. And I ran into a team that had a terrific manager. He really knows his world. He also knows how to execute. He has cast these people perfectly. And it was going to be hard for me to measure up to that. I knew that. And asked him a lot of questions, drove him a little bit nuts.
All right, Joe, what do you think about that?
So, first of all, I love Kurt Russell. And I like the fact that he kind of didn't really know anything about the Marvel Universe prior to joining the Marvel Universe. But the way that he kind of like got this role, obviously he was rumored for it for a while, but I like the fact that he just didn't, he doesn't choose roles just because they're popular. He chooses roles that actually make sense to him. Because I asked him a question about sequels, because I'm sure you guys know that he's in the new Fast and the Furious movies, the last couple. And I asked him about sequels, and he was telling me that he won't do a sequel just because it does good business. It has to make sense for him. So I like the fact that him coming back to Disney, it had to make sense for him to come back. He didn't just do it just to do it. So I totally respect that about Kurt Russell. And plus, I love Wyatt Earp. I love Tombstone.
Nice.
And I love the fact that he didn't take it for granted when he said, you just can't walk in there and go, hey, done a bunch of stuff. You've all seen it. Now here we go. Where's my call sheet?
Where's my trailer?
Yeah. So you got to really respect him for that. Now, did Kurt Russell at all take you out of the movie, Joe? Just because he's such a well-known actor?
Believe it or not, no. And it may have been the bushy beard and the big head.
The hair, man. It's all about the hair.
Yeah, but he didn't at all really, and I think that like, and the one thing that I was happy that he was able to portray with Chris Pratt was the chemistry between the two, because I think that was super important to this film, is the chemistry between Chris and Kurt and how they got along, because I'm sure that you guys remember like Matthew McConaughey was rumored for that role too.
Oh, interesting.
What? Oh,
yeah.
man.
Like that was a big rumor going on at the same time too. So I think that with Matthew and Chris would have been a completely different dynamic. And for me, Kurt Russell always seemed like that fatherly guy. So I think he was perfect for this.
Okay.
Yeah, at first I was worried going to this just because I'm such a huge Jack Burton fan from Big Trouble in Little China that I would just see him or Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. But yeah, with that big bushy beard and the mustache, it hit his face enough where I just didn't see those characters. Or Kurt Russell, I did see the character of Ego.
You saw Ego, yeah.
And Kurt Russell is just such a fantastic actor that he really sold his part. And for me, he was like the perfect father figure.
Yeah, it was so cool to see that the angel described in the first film.
Yeah,
his mom.
And they go through his history, meeting Peter Quill's mom and how they became, how they had a relationship, and how Peter Quill was conceived and born, seeing how Ego was just a sentient planet that formed himself into a human being. So going through time and seeing a younger Kurt Russell was phenomenal, and I really bought into that.
Now, did you guys know going into the film who the villain was? Because I know in most Marvel movies we do, but did you guys have any? Because I know I didn't. I had no idea.
Yeah, I had no idea either.
You know what? I just figured it was going to be Thanos. And
interesting.
Okay.
We don't see Thanos anywhere in this film. We don't see Thanos, and we don't see Infinity Stones.
That's
right.
That's true.
Well, that's a great point, and that's what I meant by like it doesn't necessarily advance the overall plot of
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right. Like, even looking at it, even like, because a lot of the questions we had for the junkets were like, well, how did the Guardians end up on Earth now?
Right.
So, well, maybe we're all wrong. Maybe the Guardians don't end up on Earth and the Avengers end up in space.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the space movies when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For me, it takes me out of these relatable characters.
Interesting.
I think that's why Doctor Strange for me is my least favorite.
But it doesn't take you into space, Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it takes you into the cosmos.
It takes you into different dimensions.
Yeah,
interdimensional.
Still, it's just not one. It's not my favorite environment to go to.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds odd coming from me, a huge Star Wars fan.
I know.
So I hope they don't go that way, where Marvel characters all end up in space and we have space wars.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because Kevin Feige did come out and say that like they're going to concentrate more on their cosmic side of things now. So,
when did he say that?
Last week, like right as he was doing press tours. I think he told Fandango that actually that they're going to concentrate more on their cosmic side, and that's why I'm not going to give it away here. But we all saw the post-credit scenes. one of those scenes kind of leads into that, the cosmic world.
Okay. But you know what, Richard, the Guardians of the Galaxy is coming to Earth.
Okay.
The Guardians of the Galaxy Tower of Terror.
Oh, I can't
Mission
wait.
Breakout.
Mission Breakout. Woohoo!
So awesome.
All right, well, let's get more into this press conference now.
All right. Now, James Gunn, when he was first picked to be the director of the first film, I was split here because either he's so independent he's going to really break the mold, or he's so independent he won't know what to do. And I wondered about the freedom he had making the first film and going into the second film. So here is James Gunn telling us all about the freedom he had on both movies.
The truth is, the great thing about working with especially with all of Marvel, but especially Kevin, who I have an especially close bond with, and who is an incredibly important person in my relationship to film. They gave me complete freedom on both movies. On the first movie, I think that I was a lot more timid, frankly. I took my first draft in on the first film, and I went into Kevin, and Joss Whedon was there, and there was a lot of humor in there, and I was afraid I was pushing the comedy, that it was too funny, and Kevin and Joss said, yeah, make it more James Gunn, and I was like, okay, it's your funeral. But people seem to like that, and so I thought I was, I'm a little punk rock kid who, likes sort of edgy stuff, and I thought what I liked may not be what the entire world likes. But I've come to trust that what I like is what works. And the great thing about working with Kevin is we seem to be very much on the same page with what is, what we like that's sort of popular and commercial and traditional, and what we like that's edgy and funny and different. So yes, I had a lot more freedom on the second movie, but most of it I feel like was from myself, just allowing myself to completely go there with the story and not stop myself at any point from fear of alienating people. I wanted to be as true to the artistic vision and especially as true to the characters as possible in this film.
Was there any joke or line or scene you had to fight for, or was it?
I mean, listen, there's one thing in the movie that I won't bring up because Kevin may not, in part I won't bring up because I may be wrong and Kevin was right, and in part because I don't want to, embarrass Kevin if I'm right. But there was one thing in the movie that we disagreed on, only one thing in the whole movie, and Kevin let me have my way. And I appreciate it, but it's also...
Good luck guessing what it is.
It's a very small thing. You'll never guess what it is.
Yeah, they're going to think it's like this was some big arc.
Yeah, it's a
thing.
moment in the movie. And besides that, we never disagreed on
I know what it is. I bet I know what it is.
It was putting Yondu in the movie.
How did you know?
My favorite line of that was, make it more James Gunn. I love the fact that he has the creative free, because this has been a thing at Marvel for a while now. I know that certain directors have soured over the way that Marvel kind of runs things. I know that Alan Taylor, who did Thor Dark World, said that that wasn't really the film he put together. Then we obviously know all the stuff they went through with Edgar Wright. And we also know how burnt out Joss Whedon was after Avengers Age of Ultron. I like the fact that James Gunn has full ownership of the cosmic stuff that he's doing, because he's really making it a James Gunn film just set in the Marvel universe. And I love that.
Yeah, He does have ownership, and the fact that if you follow him on Facebook, he actually shares a lot. And I've been following him on Facebook, and the week before this press junket in LA, which was the first part of the press tour from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, he wrote on Facebook first. He announced that he was going to be directing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Right.
So he wanted his fans to hear that first, rather than just the first person at a press junket who happened to ask him. Right. So I thought that was kind of a cool way to announce it to his fans.
So speaking of that, I actually asked him that in a junket that I did for ScreenRant. I asked him about, because he uses very specific wording. He says that this is going to be his final Guardians is going to be Volume 3. And I asked him, what do you mean by your final, is this going to be your final movie? Or he said this exactly. He said that this is going to be his final iteration of this Guardians team. So the Guardians will carry on, but this will be his final version of this team.
The Volume 3 would.
Volume 3, correct, yeah.
Okay.
Wait a minute, that's...
So what did you... So what did you ask?
What does
Yeah.
that mean?
Well, I don't know. I mean, because we have to assume that Guardians 3 is going to come out after Avengers Infinity War. So maybe there's going to be a shakeup. Maybe, some of these characters might end up in other places. Who knows what that means? But this will be the final iteration of this Guardians team.
Oh.
So it's kind of like the Avengers, where other characters will come in and out
Possibly.
of the gang.
I mean, that's something that we've kind of, because the backstory on Sylvester Stallone's character for a lot of fans that aren't familiar with Stakar or Starhawk is that his group of Ravengers were actually the original Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's something like we could be seeing. Like, who knows? Like, they could take these characters in so many different directions.
Wow.
Right. And that was one of the Easter eggs that we were talking about earlier, how you see Stallone's band in the beginning of the film, but you don't really know who they are. And then there's that post-credit scene where you're even more confused.
Yeah, like I didn't even know Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville was in this movie. I had no idea.
Wait.
He was?
Yeah, he was the character. I think his name is Martinez. He was like that silvery guy with Sylvester Stallone.
Whoa. And he played...
He was Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor, that's what I thought.
Lex Luthor, yeah, exactly. And he's a really good friend of James Gunn, so that's how he was in this movie.
Ah.
And then someone brings up Ving Rhames.
Yes.
Was he in a blink and you'll miss him moment too?
Yeah, he was kind of towards the end. He plays a character named Charlie 27, who was on Sylvester Stallone's Guardians team or Ravengers team, like back in the day. Charlie 27 I believe they're called like the 31st century not Avengers, 31st century Guardians. He's one of the original team members with Stakar. But he was in one of the final scenes after, well, I don't want to spoil this. He was in one of the final scenes after all the Ravengers got word of something else that had happened, and they all kind of had to come together.
If we take away anything from this, like every Marvel film, stay until the credits are over and they played some post scenes.
Yes.
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 All right, now let's start talking about family, because that was a huge issue in the movie, and people were really gung-ho to bring this up at the press conference. And you know what? Let's hear from James Gunn as he's talking about finding family.
I never feel like I belong. I feel like Rocket, So I think that is, for me, it's a very personal film. I have always felt like I didn't belong, and fortunately, I have some people around me who maybe help me feel like I'm not completely alone in the world. And just as importantly, I think I grew up with some art, some movies by people like, everybody from, David Cronenberg to, Steven Spielberg, movies where an outcast didn't feel so alone, or music by Alice Cooper or The Clash, for outcasts, where maybe I was this little kid in Manchester, Missouri, who felt like he was completely alienated from all his peers, and by listening and hearing music and watching movies, I felt a little bit less alone. And I hope that that's what The Guardians does for people. It's a movie about outcasts for outcasts. And there's people all over the world that it touches, and that's the most rewarding thing by far about making these movies.
Well, I thought that was really neat. Like this moment in the press conference really brought home how much I did enjoy this movie and how much I wanted to see it again. Just to, see those themes of family play out even more. Because one of the things about press conferences that's great is you get to learn why things happen in the movie because you hear from the creators.
I love the fact that he's talking about everyone being outcasts. Mm-hmm. Because I think that really hit a huge audience in the first one, where all these characters are misfits, they're criminals, they're outcasts. And I think that can really appeal to a lot of kids just trying to find their own. We're an outsider. We have no family. We have a family, but the family doesn't understand me. And here they are all getting together, and they work together. They fit together. They bond, and they are Groot.
Aww.
Yeah, that was great. The one thing also is that there's a character that you can relate to no matter who you are in this movie. Because I feel like in the family dynamic, they are a big, giant family. And, depending on if you had that big sister that's kind of like the Gamora, if you had the the little baby that's kind of like the Groot, there's always somebody in your family that you can relate to on this scale. So it's funny because I don't know if this is funny, but like behind me when we were doing the screening, like the woman behind me was like crying her eyes out, and I was like, oh man, so sad. But it's something that you can relate to on any kind of level, like having a family.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think all of us. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I mean, speaking for me as an only child, I had a very small family, but I created my own family with my very, very close friends. You know, my best friends became my family. So I could definitely relate to that.
Well, I think most people could look at themselves as an outcast in one way or another, growing up. So, Joe, which of these characters do you feel most related to?
It's a great question. What character do I feel most related to? I mean, it depends on how my day's going. Sometimes I feel like a Rocket. Sometimes I feel like a Star-Lord.
All right, how about growing up when you were a kid? Which of these characters would have really appealed to you?
For sure, Star-Lord, 100%. I see so much of because I didn't really grow up with my mom so much. So it was like it was very much that reverse with me with him and his dad. So I completely understood this movie on that level, and not always wanting that kind of thing there. Look at that, pulling the curtain back a little bit.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, I now that I think about it after hearing your answer, I think for me it's the same way, because my dad was a cop. He was always working, so I didn't see too much of him. And I don't think I ever played catch with him in my life. You know what? I take that back. We did play catch once. When I say once, I mean the ball went from him to hitting my face.
Oh, no.
It was terrible. It was a football, and I remember looking up, trying to see where it was, but the sun was in my eyes, and wham, like a Marsha Brady moment.
Oh, wow.
And that was the last time I've ever played catch with my father. So, yeah, I think I would have related more with Peter Quill. But, yeah, a little bit of Rocket, because he's the gruff guy. Not that I was gruff as a kid, but always had that wise-acred comeback. Never could get to my true emotions, because I always had that one-liner always chambered and ready to go to hide behind. Sarah?
This is hard for me, because I had a very stable family life, and I didn't really necessarily feel like the outcast. I was never the popular one, but I always made my own, like, group of people wherever I went. So
then you're just more perfect than we are.
Well, well, yes, but no. I'm thinking that kind of like Groot.
Oh.
Like baby Groot, because he knows he can depend on Rocket all the time. Like there's always someone to depend on. Like that's how I kind of feel with you. Like I know you're always there. You're always someone to depend on. And so I feel like in that way I'm kind of like baby Groot, or even Groot before he was baby Groot, in that, he just kind of went through life. He knew who was there. He kind of did his own thing, and he just stuck like a tree to the people that he liked.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Interesting.
Yeah, I can see that. And you like to dance.
Yeah. See? There you go. I have
a question about Groot real quick. And I know that maybe there wasn't a ton of like behind the scenes stuff on this movie that I saw prior to it. Mm-hmm. But did Vin Diesel actually come in and record lines again, or did they take lines that they already had from him from the first movie?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I'm sure they could have just said, you know what, Vin, we'll send you a check, but stay home, because we can just modify what we have already. Because I'm sure they have got 1,000 takes of him saying, I am Groot.
I'd assume the same thing.
Yeah.
But I'm sure as an actor, I would like to think that he didn't just phone it in, that he could have come in and just read some more line readings.
You know what? I played tug-of-war with I Am Groot.
You could have asked him then.
Ah, darn.
You know what? I'm sure it'll come up again.
Yes.
But now, speaking of Groot, there's some great Groot questions that were asked, and the moderator had asked what they used as a reference point for Baby Groot, because normally they would just put a tennis ball on a C-stand and say, "There you go, act to that."
Yep.
And if they knew how adorable little baby Groot was going to be. And here is James Gunn's answer.
What was the reference point on set for Little Groot? Was there did you know how adorable he was going to be?
Yeah, we had a statue of Little Groot. So we had a nice maquette that we had made, and he was designed beforehand, and so we kind of had him around, and there were great times and moments on set when we just had this adorable little statue we would have standing there. And we'd have the scene, and all this stuff would be going on, and these guys would be acting their butts off and really putting their hearts and souls, and all of a sudden Chris would look over at that little guy and go, damn it, he's going to steal the whole movie. And I would be like something, let's get a shot over here, because I think Groot's going to be trying to get a bug while this scene is happening. He's like, really? Groot's going to be trying to get a bug while I'm crying about my father? That's going to... You're a dick.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
It's cute.
So true.
I think Chris Pratt was wise to think that, because we all did look at Baby Groot.
Yeah.
I think this may have been my favorite story of the press conference. that everybody's just acting so hard and acting their butts off, and James Gunn's just kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna put a little Groot here, and he's like, man, I have a big scene. I'm crying over here. I love the fact that just every little thing that Baby Groot does just steals it. And they knew it. I like the fact that they also knew it when they were on set, too.
This is kind of like in Star Wars, where Mark Hamill is acting his butt off, and Anthony Daniels says, you know what, if I'm in the same shot, don't even worry about it. They're not looking at you, they're looking at me.
Aww.
Because here's a bright, shiny robot. They're not going to be looking at you. It's all going to be on me. So I'm sure they had maquettes made up to look like Baby Groot, and if the effects department was smart, they would have made him really ugly.
It's complete. You can imagine how many toys of Baby Groot they're going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And at this press conference, we all walked away with a dancing Baby Groot.
Yeah.
True, we sure did.
Oh,
We were
I was
all so excited.
happy. Yeah, and like we were saying earlier in the show, one lucky Skywalker will walk away with one of our Baby Groots.
Woohoo.
I'm sorry, rock and roll Baby Groots.
Yep.
Now, this question rounds out the first press conference. A member of the press who clearly knew his Guardians of the Galaxy asks about Stallone's character Stakar, or Starhawk, and reassembling a new team that harkens back to the 90s comics.
Yeah, they're definitely the original Guardians. That was the fun of it. And when James had the idea to do more with the Yondu character, who is also an original Guardians, the notion that he had a team once, like Peter does now, that'd be fun to see them. And he's definitely Charlie 27. Where we see them in the future, time will tell.
I think that we always, with all the post-credit scenes on this movie, they're all funny and fun, and I think most of them are things that we hope to see continuing on in, the MCU. Now whether that's supporting roles in future movies or whatever, I think it would be great to see those things and those characters show up.
Are you able to identify the rest of the teams?
Well, you can read the credits, and so it's right.
You can name them.
Yeah, Ving Rhames is Charlie 27. Michelle Yeoh, who I'm an enormous fan of. I'm a big fan of old 90s Hong Kong films, and she is a very wonderful person. And she is Alita Osgord, who is the other Starhawk, the female Starhawk, and then
The red alien?
that's we would say he's not in the credits. Should I say him? Kruger? That's Krugar, and then Mainframe is the last one.
Yep.
Who is that's.
You seem to have tapped into something.
Have you told people who Mainframe is?
I haven't told you. Want to? Yeah. Should we?
No.
Okay. I think I did. I actually did. I blew it. I told one person.
So get out there.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, Joe, like you were saying, these are the original Guardians, and I think we're going to be seeing a movie coming up really soon, because you don't bring in an actor like Stallone and have him do 38 seconds.
Right.
If you're not going to spin him up. Kind of like Samuel L. Jackson in Phantom Menace with 3 minutes of screen time, but as each film goes further, he gets a bigger and bigger part.
So do you guys remember at the press conference when James Gunn said that there was a character that he said, should we tell them who is playing this certain character? And he was like, well, Kevin Feige's like, nah, let him figure it out. Do you remember that at all?
Yes.
Do you remember what that character's name was?
No.
I actually I figured out who is playing that character. I didn't figure it out, actually. The internet figured it out. That there's a robot, a little robot. Do you remember the little robot that was with them?
Now, is this in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2?
Yeah, it was when Stallone at the end was like, with his whole crew, and he's like, we need to get back to stealing. Do you remember that?
I remember the scene. I don't recall a small robot.
No.
I'm trying to look up the name of the character.
Okay.
But anyways, there's a robot in there, and it's voiced by somebody. That robot is actually voiced by Miley Cyrus.
What?
You know what? I do remember someone saying that at the press conference, and I thought, oh, they've got to be kidding. What?
Yeah.
She got such a distinguishable voice. How do you not pick that out?
Wow.
Did you hear her voice when you saw the film?
No, not at all. I did not at all. But I would say this is crazy because James Gunn is doing a great job of bringing in just so many, just a different array of actors. I mean, obviously Seth Green as Howard the Duck, and Ving Rhames and Sylvester Stallone, and Michelle Yeoh played the female Starhawk. But Miley Cyrus, how crazy is that, right?
Yeah. Wow. He's getting together the Misfits.
Yeah.
Yes, the character's name is Mainframe. And I believe that Mainframe is this version of the Guardians of Vision.
Oh.
Real? Played by Miley Cyrus?
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, come on.
She's reinventing herself.
You know, they couldn't have gotten Beyonce?
Hey, maybe they're holding out for a bigger role for Beyonce.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Another Golden Girl.
I mean, it also could be the fact that it's such a smaller role that they could probably recast it if it does become a bigger role. But I think what an Easter egg, because one of the mandates that I got from ScreenRant is to find out who Sharon Stone is in the movie. Well, I looked all over the place and I didn't find Sharon. Now, not saying she wasn't in the movie because there's a lot of cameos in the movie, but I didn't find Sharon Stone at all. I'm assuming that she might be in another Marvel movie. But yeah, to find out that Miley Cyrus was playing Mainframe was pretty crazy.
Wow.
This is blowing my mind. Sharon Stone? I don't... Wow.
Well, there's a rumor. Well, not even a rumor. Sharon Stone said that she is going to be in a Marvel property, but she wouldn't say what it was. So everybody assumed it was Guardians of the Galaxy, mainly because Guardians has such a wide array of a cast, and that's obviously Sylvester Stallone was rumored around the same time too, and we knew that he was going to be in Guardians. So we were just under the assumption that Sharon Stone was going to be in this film also, and I didn't see her, and she's not in the credits either. So I'm assuming that it's another property. But yeah, Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, if her name isn't in the credits, I don't think any union would let that slide by.
Right?
Now that's going to end the first of 2 Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 press conferences that happened that day. But now, let's take a break for some shout-outs and the Skywalker of the Week.
Shout-outs, Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout out. Who was photoballed? Shout out. Who was shared a post? Shout out.
We want to give a big shout out to Wayne Kwong in our Facebook group. He wrote this. Just saw the podcast for Orlando 2017. Since the likelihood I will never get to meet you, this will help put names to faces and makes me feel more like a member of the family. Skywalking Through Neverland podcast is the highlight of my week. Bless you all.
Oh.
Look at
all the hearts.
I know, lots of hearts on live.
And did you see all the comments that were posted in that thread?
I did.
So many people welcoming Wayne to the Skywalker family and letting him know that even though he may not get a chance to meet us, he's still a dedicated Skywalker family member.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that happens in our Facebook group. It's very, very welcoming. So if you want to join our Facebook group and you haven't already, just search Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland group, then request to join. And because it's a closed group, you do have to request to join and then find us somewhere else on social media, either Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and say, hey, I requested to join the group. Please let me in, and your name on Facebook so that we can let you in. And we would love to include you in our Skywalker family.
All right, now with that, everyone go get a pen and write this down. Hashtag make Hoojibs canon. Now, I want to say that we're very close on this.
Uh-huh.
But we're not until all of the Skywalkers hashtag this out, okay?
Yeah.
Make Hoojibs canon, and they want to include Pablo Hidalgo.
Yeah, no, so this is on Twitter. Backstory on this, several of our Hoojib Hop pictures from Sunday of Star Wars Celebration started circulating Twitter, much in part thanks to Brian Sims, Christopher Marino, I know a bunch of you. Oh, and all of our Team Hoojib members as well. So we are so excited that some of you took it among yourselves to tweet these pictures at various members of the Star Wars Story Group, including Pablo Hidalgo and Matt Martin and Leland Chee. So now the hashtag Make Hoojibs Canon campaign has begun.
So like what, on a daily basis, everyone should just barrage them with this?
I think so. So Pablo Hidalgo even tweeted out Brian Sims' pictures of the Hoojib Hop and said, "Go Hoojibs!" So it's a thing, guys. It's a thing.
Whenever I see Leland or Matt, I always bring up Hoojibs, and they're such big fans. So it's gonna happen. It just needs a little prodding from the Star Wars fan community.
Yes. Yeah, so for this week, for your Skywalker selfie, I want you to stop, take a picture of yourself, whatever you're doing.
If you have Amanda Bond's Hoojib ears...
Oh my gosh! Add those!
Add those, yes.
Yeah, add those. Okay, stop, get your Hoojib ears, put them on, take a picture, and then tweet out your Skywalker selfie, so hashtag Skywalker selfie, but then add the hashtag Make Hoojibs canon.
Now, they should also add Skywalking through at Skywalking Pod in there?
Oh yeah, I guess when I say tweet out your Skywalker selfie to us, that means
add
to
that
us.
in there. Yes.
Yeah, like at Skywalking Pod and then add your Skywalker selfie. So yeah, let's get this thing trending, you guys.
Yeah, I vow this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And Pliff, he's going to have a new friend called Woloski. I vow this.
You want that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
Okay. Next, we have the Skywalker of the Week.
Reynold Gobiel, Reynold Gobiel, Reynold Gobiel.
Congratulations, Reynold Gobiel.
Woohoo!
Long overdue, and I'm so glad we were able to do a Skywalker of the Week for you.
Yeah.
And by I mean us, I mean Rob Dellinger.
Yes, he is our podcast composer. He does this every week. He is amazing. And if you want to have your very own jingle as composed by Rob Dellinger, all you have to do is share our show with someone on social media somewhere, say something nice about our show, and just in general, just be an evangelist for Skywalking Through Neverland. And you may be the Skywalker of the Week.
There you go. And pushing this Hoojib thing, that could help you even more.
Yes, it could.
And we have another campaign also that you'll hear about after the next Guardians of the Galaxy press conference segment.
Oh.
That's very important.
Okay.
So lots of homework this episode.
All right. Now, let's get back into our Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 press coverage. Here is where they brought out their next batch of actors, including Sylvester Stallone. So, anyone who likes to cosplay as one of his characters, this is mandatory listening. You've been warned.
All right, so that ended the first press conference, and we were happy with that. But then they rolled out the next batch, which included Sylvester Stallone, Starhawk,
Sean Gunn, who is the rocket reference person on set, and also he plays Kraglin, which is kind of the second in command to Yondu.
Right.
And then Zoe Saldana, who plays Gamora. Producer Kevin Feige was back. Dave Bautista, who plays Drax. Karen Gillian, Nebula.
and Palm Clementif as Mantis.
Yeah.
Now, those two girls, Karen and Palm, just put them in a movie and don't have them read the phone book. just so adorable, and it's just so innocent too. And even Mantis is a very innocent character, but Karen Gillan as Nebula, she can kick Drax's butt. But then to see her up there's this little tiny Scottish actress.
That was so funny.
Just so cute.
And then she and Zoe Saldana had a very great chemistry just there in the press conference. And Zoe can talk anyone's ear off. That was so funny.
Yeah. And I did not expect Stallone to talk as much as he did.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though this is like old hat for him. But I thought he would take more of a back seat.
It was surreal for me seeing Sylvester Stallone up with, like, in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I think. It was just something I wasn't expecting, but I'm happy we got it.
Now, I haven't seen Judge Dredd in like 20 years, but it kind of had a Judge Dreddish feel.
What did him?
But his role in this.
Okay.
I think I'm basing it just on the look of his character.
Yeah. The rumor was that Sylvester Stallone, going around for a while, was going to play one of the Nova Corps members.
Oh.
But I'm kind of glad that we got him as Stakar. And also, I kind of wish that we would have gotten that Tango and Cash, like, on-screen, like, reunion.
Right?
Okay, so...
Missed opportunity.
For people who don't know, like me, Tango and Cash, I'm assuming, is Stallone and... what's his name?
Kurt
Big
Russell.
hair. Kurt Russell.
1989.
Yeah.
Okay.
They played like the ultimate odd couple.
Okay, as Tango and Cash.
Yeah, and this is back when Kurt Russell was a big action star as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
So now you have two big action stars together.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't even put that together until the press conference when someone brought that up. It's like, how did I not see that? Tango and Cash.
Yeah. Well, also there's the Michael Rooker and Kurt Russell reunion too, because they were both in Tombstone together.
Oh.
They were both in the same posse.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
I guess when you get cast as big as this, you're bound to have a lot of crossovers, right? Now, Stallone talks a lot about defining this generation's mythology, which I thought was really, really exciting. And something that I wanted to hear coming from his point of view. And he also talked about the real reason why he wanted to do this film.
Early on in my career, I just always became fascinated with mythology. And Joseph Campbell and, Man of a Thousand Faces and so on and so forth. So when I started doing Rambo, whatever, there is an evolution that takes place. And each generation has to define itself and find its own heroes and find its own mythology. And this is this generation's, and maybe even the next generation's mythology. And when Kevin invited me on board, I said, this is interesting because I haven't gone here. See what I mean? I'm kind of earthbound. I'm terrestrial. You know what I mean? This is something that takes place in a whole other sphere where James and the Marvel people have created their own world, their own reality. So I said, yeah, let me visit. Let me drop in here and see what's up, where the future is going, And it was great. And it got me out of the house for my 3 daughters, which is really, thank you. That's why I gave you my salary back. My pleasure.
This will be my last one until I open it up, but we did touch on it in the little bit of the first conference. Kevin allowed James to talk about what your role might be in another film, if you would like to tease us with how many have you signed on for?
I'll listen to you. No, listen, I believe it when I see it, Kevin. You know what I mean? This is Hollywood, you know what I mean?
So I thought, Stallone was very insightful here. I was like, wow, I'm so glad he really thought about his role in the film and just how we are kind of entering a new mythology.
Right.
Yeah, I was trying my hardest to read his face to give us a hint if he was going to be in other movies. But it was because they're very secretive at Marvel. So I was just trying my hardest to see if there was any sign that we could possibly see him pop up in the future. I definitely think we will. But I just wish that we would have got it confirmed there.
I think in another clip or two, he does give a, not a spoiler, but does give some foreshadowing on that.
Right.
Now, I love the fact, once again, that he's talking about each generation's mythology. And one generation had Rambo and had Rocky, and now this generation, it's got Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's so proud to become part of this generation, which is like 3 removed from Rocky, and now he's still as relevant as he ever was.
Wow.
And now, what was the reason why he really wanted to do this film? It got him out of the house from his 3 daughters.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he's kidding about that.
I wonder how old his daughters are. Teenagers?
They're old enough to know what that meant.
But you know what? That's quite impressive, though, if you think about what Marvel's done, talking about the generations, is that, like, Winter Soldier had Robert Redford in it. And, like, who would have ever thought that Robert Redford would be in a superhero movie, you know?
Wow. I know. That was so cool to see him, too. I love how they're bringing back some of these older actors.
You know what? Let's call them vintage actors.
Okay. That make you feel better, Richard?
That would make me feel so much better. Yes.
All right. Well, let's talk about female characters now, because there's no doubt that Guardians of the Galaxy 2 champions female characters, and a question was asked about if there was a discussion about that and if there was any pushback to that while creating the film. So let's hear some answers here from Kevin Feige, and then Dave Bautista joins in.
No pushback, and I think we always, there are lots and lots of great female characters in the comics that we want to bring to life on screen. And it was very important to James to include these characters, and more than just include them, give them their own storyline, and have it be more than just their ability to fight or romance with a male character. And that's why I think Nebula and Gamora are a high point of the movie. And that relationship is one of the biggest and best arcs of the whole movie, is that sister relationship.
I have to add one thing to that, because I keep hearing over and over that women are so happy to see these strong, sexy, feminine characters, and trust me that the men are happy to see them as well.
Now, is this even an issue in today's world about including such powerful women characters? Now that you've had Rey in Force Awakens, you've had Jyn in Rogue One, you're having Wonder Woman come out next month. I think it's not even an issue of including, and who would ever push back having a strong woman? I couldn't see an executive going, wait a minute, this woman has 52 lines? No. and she has how much screen time? Nope, can't happen.
Right. Well, I think the tide has been turning, just maybe even in just 2016, the tide has been turning a little more, because at the end of 2016, you got Hidden Figures, which was the female-driven film.
Yeah. I think this all really started with Angelina Jolie with Lara Croft, Tomb Raider.
No, that was too far in advance, I think.
I think it really started, honestly, with Rey in The Force Awakens. That was our first real big taste of a successful big budget movie that champions a female lead. I think now you're right, though, Richard, that with DC, with Wonder Woman, obviously we had Ghost in the Shell just a few weeks ago, which didn't do that well, but regardless, it still had a female lead. And now we're going to pretty soon get Captain Marvel. I mean, I could easily see somebody like Zoe Saldana eventually taking over the Guardians team if Chris Pratt decides to move on or whatever the case may be, because I like the fact that we're starting to see that now, though.
Right. I think the discussion is now turning to who's making the movies, and we need more female people making the films. That's kind of where the discussion is turning. That's what I'm seeing anyway.
We've had success even with Ripley and Alien, and how women can carry a film. Maybe Lara Croft wasn't the best example, but I think in the last couple of years the tide has been turning rather quickly. So I'm not sure why the question was there ever any pushbacks? I just can't see there being a pushback in something like Marvel with Disney creating so many female-driven films.
I mean, that was the big thing with Patty Jenkins, who's now directing Wonder Woman. She was originally supposed to direct Thor: Dark World, but for whatever reason that didn't happen. But I think that you're right, Sarah. I think that there's a big emphasis on female directors now. I mean, we started seeing that a little bit with like The Hurt Locker.
With Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah, Catherine Bigelow. So hopefully now we can continue that trend and see them really get their due here in these like big tentpole movies.
Well, it's hard for me because yes, while I want there to be, females in film making movies and stuff, I want it to be the best people making the movies,
Sure.
not necessarily male versus female.
And that's the exact point that Kathleen Kennedy brought up during, I want to say, the Rogue One press conference. And she said, well, maybe there just wasn't a female director who wanted to do this at this time, or was even up for it. We're not going to go for just someone based on gender. We're going to go someone who has experience at that time.
And is right for the movie, because a director has to see this film in their head to make it a reality.
Yeah, and who's to say they didn't go to Catherine Bigelow, who had something else going on?
Yeah.
That's very true.
And also, I think James Gunn made it a point to really round out Gamora and Nebula's relationship and why they're always fighting and literally at each other's throats.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that after the first film, we were left hanging with so many questions, but that's good. We really care about these characters enough to wonder why they hate each other. And at the beginning of this film, Gamora just sees her as a villain who needs to be locked up. Doesn't see her as a sister. But Nebula, as much as she wants to kill Gamora, still loves her.
Mm-hmm.
And as we go along, they're forming another bond that was destroyed years ago. Because
by their father.
Now they have to fight alongside each other, and they have a connection with that.
Well, do you guys see Nebula more of a villain or an anti-hero at this point?
Anti-hero, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not trying. She doesn't have her own agenda necessarily, does she?
No.
No.
She was just going off of Thanos.
Right.
And she wasn't doing anything for her own benefit. She was doing what she was told to do, and now she's starting to see the light of day, so to speak, and now she's coming around. So I think that makes her the anti-hero.
So now, Richard, it was your turn.
All right, now
to grab the mic.
Now
right?
I grabbed the microphone, and the question was, so what do you think about cosplayers at conventions who dress up as your character? Mm-hmm. And Stallone jumped right in here with this hilarious answer. Hey, Rich Woloski, Skywalking Through Neverland. I have a question for each of you. How do you feel when you go to a science fiction convention and you see people dressed up as your characters, cosplaying as either Rocky at some conventions or Uhura or just Guardians of the Galaxy characters? How do you feel when you see something like that?
I really want to punch them out. I mean, seriously. They probably... It's copyright infringement, right?
You have like an out of body experience each and every time, and you go through like different stages in your mind, thinking like it's like Wayne's World, like we're not worthy. You feel grateful. You feel so lucky that you got to play a character that impacted people, or you're a part of something so special that it continuously impacts people so much so that their devotion drives them to go to these places, and they congregate and they celebrate. And then you're there, you're like their best guest, and you feel very humbled. But I still have a hard time believing that I'm here. I'm a geek from Queens. Like I grew up like in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I've done 3 science fiction movies. And I guess by running away from boxes, I found a good place in space. For me to feel happy and free.
I did not see that coming.
I didn't see that coming either, but at all, actually.
And, at every kamikaze convention, there is someone dressed up as Rocky for some reason.
You better not meet Stallone.
Yeah. So I think anyone who's interested in dressing up as a Stallone character should definitely hear this press conference.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And even Zoe Saldana stepped in and said it's very humbling to see someone dressed up as a character because they made a connection to you. And that's gotta be very, very endearing and heartfelt. Like Sarah, someone dressed up as Jedi Tink.
Yeah, for Halloween.
A couple of Halloweens ago. And to me, that's where do you go from there?
That was
someone
so adorable.
Wants to be like you, so they dress up like you for Halloween or a convention. That's like the ultimate praise.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's that whole, what is it? Copying is the highest
form of flattery.
Flattery.
There you go. Thank you for filling in my sentence. I couldn't think of it.
So I really wanted to hear from everyone else, but then someone else asked a question. It's like, there's still other people up there I want to hear from.
Yeah, they don't always answer the whole, everyone answer the same thing.
No.
Unfortunately.
So this is another common question you hear at press conferences, and that's how much of this franchise do you know about? Mm-hmm. And someone had asked Sylvester Stallone, how much of Guardians of the Galaxy did you know? How much did you know about this franchise? And did you read the comic books before doing the film? And this is what he had to say.
I grew up on a different sort of superheroes, like Elastic Man and things like that. They're really horrible. You know what I mean? Like the guys. But to me, it was wonderful. And so this one, I wanted to go in there, clean slate and just do what the director wanted done. And so now I'm starting to catch up on it. But I think there's kind of being naive allows you to be directed in the direction they want you to go without any preconceived ideas.
Why are you starting to catch up on them now?
Oh my God.
Kevin.
Because I'm an optimist.
2 words come to mind with this: Elastic Man. I don't even know who Elastic Man is.
Me either.
Now, in the press conference, when he says Elastic Man, you hear me howling with laughter. That's my howl.
That's great.
Wow.
And the fact that Stallone says that's when he was a kid, that's all they had. And they were horrible. But I like the fact that he went in with a clean slate and just did what James Gunn wanted him to do, instead of having all these ideas about what Starhawk should be.
Well, I think that's smart just in general, especially in the James Gunn side of the Marvel Universe, because the Star-Lord character that Chris Pratt is, the Peter Quill, is definitely not what he was when he was created. So I think sometimes it kind of actually hurts you in this situation, especially if you have that backstory, because you might want to play it in a certain kind of way. Mm-hmm. Funny enough, that's another one. I asked Dave Bautista at the press junket, how did he feel about his character being kind of like not nearly as brooding, not nearly as angry as he was in the first film. He actually said that originally he was disappointed because he wanted his character to display more of the comic side, where he was more of the butt kicker and more of the guy that the fighter, the champion. But after he read the script, and because he doesn't look at himself as a funny guy, but after he read the script at the table read and everybody else was laughing, he knew it was going to work. So it's definitely one of those situations where you got to put your trust in the director, and James Gunn's a great one. So it might have been a good idea that he didn't read Stakar and maybe didn't transfer over some of that campiness that character could have had.
Right, but he is starting to read the comics now,
which is interesting.
Yeah, and he did say that he's reading them because he's an optimist.
Dave, but Stallone?
Which means that, I think there's talks about doing a whole other Guardians type of film with using his gang.
Right. Wow.
Which could be pretty cool. Or who knows? We could possibly see them pop up in one of these Avenger movies, because they were supposed to get everybody in these movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How are they going to do that?
I don't know, but that's going to be awesome to see the Avengers and Guardians and some other little duck characters.
So Ant-Man and Star-Lord are going to be like buddy-buddy best friends.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Yeah, that's going to be an awesome little dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Howard the Duck and Rocket.
Oh,
that's going to be a team up right there.
Well, I asked Vin Diesel at the Triple X junket about which Avenger he's most excited to share the screen with, his character. He did say that there's a possibility that he could have a scene with the Hulk, Groot and the Hulk.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Take a second, wrap your head around that.
Oh my god, it's like Disney Infinity is coming to life. Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh, R.I.P. Disney Infinity.
Oh. Well, let's talk more about family.
Okay. Yeah, some member of the press said There's a great scene in the movie that I loved in which Nebula says, "You're not friends, all you do is fight." And Drax says, "No, we're family." So then the question was asked for all of the cast there, what does family look like to you growing up and now? This is a great question. So let's first Zoe Saldana jumps in, then Dave Bautista.
The reason why I love Guardians is that all these characters are not only do they look different, it's because the color, whatever color of their skin or fur on their backs is sort of like describing to you how different they are on the inside from each other, and yet there's this increasing desire to belong and be accepted and be loved and not be abandoned, and I don't see the Guardians as these awesome kicking ass superheroes. I see them as these really delicate people that are just trying to get by day, and they found ways through by being like a-holes that became like a defense mechanism. So I'm very familiar with that sort of aspect of family, people that survive so many things, and they teach you to always give the benefit of the doubt, to keep looking, within, because there is a very special person behind all that tough skin, and all that, all those walls, I guess. I don't know. So that's what family is for me. What's family for you?
I think, for myself, I think family is people you care about, and people who care about you and just love you, regardless. That don't judge you, and you don't have to feel awkward and self-conscious around. And they don't necessarily have to be your blood family. You're not tied down to the people you're born with and grow up with. I think anybody can be your family member. You make them your family members. You invite them into your lives and love them and care for them. And even if, to me, like my dogs are my children now. I love them more than most people in the world. But I think that's it. It just doesn't have to be one definition to family. I think it's just the people you love in your lives. Like these people up here are like we're family. I think that's what it is, and I think that's the message of our film. That even though families may be dysfunctional, it's still at the end of the day, do you love this person? Do you care for this person? Would you do anything for this person? And if that answer is yes, then they are your family.
So once again, that family theme came through, and another reason I just want to see this movie again.
And how families don't always get along. They can always be arguing and fighting, but they're still family.
Right.
And like how when Dave Bautista said, family is just someone who cares about you. You care about them. Family is not going to judge you. They're just always going to be there for that support. You know what? I don't want to judge a book by its cover, but I didn't expect Dave Bautista to be so deep.
Yeah, right.
And even Zoe coming in with this aspect of family and how they are delicate people. Mm-hmm. Once you dig down deep enough, who isn't delicate? Who doesn't want a family? Who doesn't want that support and validation? And there are people who can say that all day long that they don't want it. Oh, I don't need validation. I don't need this. I don't need that. I'm fine the way I am. Yeah, behind closed doors, that person just wants a hug.
This was a huge theme throughout everybody's answer, actually, was family. Obviously, everybody knew that this film was about family, which is a surprise because, well, I guess it's a surprise more so for me because I went into this movie with just watching the trailers, and I knew that Ego was going to be in it, and he says that he's Star-Lord's dad. That's obviously in the trailer. But I didn't know actually how much family was going to play into this movie. And if you really think about it, this is a completely different direction that Marvel's ever done with their films. It's a comedy. It's a family comedy and set in space, essentially.
You're right.
And they made it work.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And during this press conference, when they kept talking about family, Sarah, I was thinking about Celebration Orlando, how we had our family of Skywalker listeners who joined up with us, who met with us, and just we walked around with them. We spent a lot of time with them, and we were just like one big family.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it felt so so special. Like we had our own, I don't want to say bubble, but we had this shield of protection. That if anyone was having some people at Celebration did not have the experience they were hoping for, and they were very disgruntled, and they said just being within this family just made the whole weekend, and they forgot about all the nonsense they had gone through just because they had that family support.
Yeah.
So when they were talking about family through this, I was thinking, this family is very, very special.
It is. It is.
And now the press conference was wrapping up, and the woman with the microphone was standing right next to me, so I grabbed it. And I had a question that I thought could go either way.
We have time for one more. I hope it's a good one.
Oh, sure is. Love the inclusion of Howard the Duck in the film. When can we see a spin-off film or cartoon series?
Of Howard?
Yes.
You know, the fun thing about Howard is he shows up where you least expect him. So who knows where he's going to appear next?
Such as? Summer of. And, of course, we come out of this with nothing.
No, nothing
he
at all.
He gave us nothing.
Yeah, Kevin Feige's not really one that gives much information out anytime.
No, we have to make him dance just like Dave Filoni.
Yeah, I can see him and Dave Filoni just getting together and going, what questions did you not answer today? Now, Joe, would you like to see a Howard the Duck film or animated show, or are you happy with seeing him popping up in films here and there?
I'm actually happy with Howard's role now. If it gets expanded and it makes sense, I'm all for it. But I would hate. Oh, you know what? If they did a full on, well, I guess Guardians is a Marvel comedy, to be honest with you. But if they did a full on another comedy and another thing, I would totally be in for a Howard the Duck Space Odyssey.
I could see it more as a Netflix little miniseries.
I could see it as an animated Netflix miniseries.
Yeah.
That would totally work.
That would be awesome, by the way. Imagine a Netflix Howard the Duck comedy. That would be great.
You know what? We're gonna start a hashtag.
Yeah, let's get that one trending.
What would it be? Hashtag Netflix Howard the Duck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Howard
Joe,
the Duck on Netflix?
you're the resident hashtagger here.
Yeah, the guy. I don't ever use hashtags. Funny enough. Yeah, hashtag Howard the Duck on Netflix works for me.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
We're gonna start doing that.
All right. Now, if I had ever gotten the chance to get the mic, I would have asked this last question that thankfully the People magazine editor asked.
Yeah,
Or writer.
They were trying to dance around the Howard the Duck question so much that they automatically rolled into this.
Well, she asked about the soundtrack and how the music was involved in creating the film. So let's listen to what they said about this. Well, let's listen to what Kevin Feige said about this.
On the aspect of music in the film, because I think it's everyone, we all love it so much. And I know James played music while you guys were filming. Can you talk, or someone just talk a little bit about what that's like, or what kind of song encapsulates the experience, or something that you hadn't hit your head for weeks, or just kind of your favorite aspect about the music?
I want to say that he does that not just with songs, but also with Brian Tyler's
the score.
Tyler Bates' score. Yeah. So a year before we start filming, James is sharing the story and the script with Tyler Bates, and Tyler starts writing score suites, and there are a couple of really moving pieces in the movie that he did about a year before so he could play it on set while they were filming, which no other film that I am a part of does that. It's really unique.
It's so cool to be able to do that, to be able to hear the score. There are times and there's action sequences where part of the score is playing, or also the soundtrack, like when we're at the end of the movie, Father and Son, we're hearing that in earbuds in our ears. That's really awesome. Like to be able to do that for a movie is very cool.
Well, I'm so glad that they discussed this. And actually, my question was going to be more about, did they listen to maybe the songs from the 70s, while they were recording? But, Tyler Bates, the composer, actually composed some music beforehand for this Guardians of the Galaxy as well as the first one. And it was interesting that they were able to use that in their process. So I think music is just very, very important.
Well, I have a question for you guys. From the first Guardians, Volume 1, what was your favorite song from that soundtrack?
I'm gonna just say the seminal "Come and Get Your Love."
Is that the opening scene?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the song that really stuck in
Sticks.
your mind. And a song you did not expect to open up a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie like this set in the future.
Yeah.
Very true. For me, it's "I Want You Back" by the Jackson 5.
Oh, there you go.
Which part did that play over?
Where Baby Groot was dancing, but it just made you like leave that theater so happy.
Yeah.
That song is just such a happy song.
That's true.
And for another Star Wars connection here, I would say that the way George Lucas used a symphony orchestra for the soundtrack, which is not something that you would do back in the day, Guardians of the Galaxy, used classic rock songs from the 70s as their soundtrack. Something that has never been done for a movie like this before, and was such a huge gamble. And it like Star Wars, it really paid off. Whereas Star Wars wasn't as reliant on those songs, where these classic songs were a part of the story as well. So they had to work.
Oh, yeah.
In one of the junket interviews, somebody asked James Gunn if how hard it was to get all these songs, and because obviously doing this acquiring the rights to these songs is pretty expensive. But he said that whatever song they wanted, Marvel just shelled out the money for it. So he pretty much got every song that he wanted. So this is James Gunn's vision.
Wow.
Now, we come full circle here, because that's why in the beginning we didn't see that big battle. We just saw Baby Groot dancing around because they didn't have the money to show this big epic battle with a space whale, because they spent all the money on the songs. Mic drop. There you go. All right.
Your question has been answered.
The circle is now complete. All right, Joe, we want to thank you so much for taking out the time and talking all about Guardians of the Galaxy and what you thought of the film and the press conferences and getting all your opinions. And you're definitely qualified, or overqualified.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough. You guys have an amazing show. I met Sarah at Doctor Strange, bringing this back to Marvel, actually, at the conference there.
Yeah, and I had my button, so woohoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You guys are amazing.
Oh, thank you much. And it was just happenstance that we ran into you at the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 press conference.
With our baby Groots.
It's the Marvel connection, guys.
Yeah, because, we were actually stalking. Because we had seen Kevin Feige, so we were looking around to see who else we could find.
Yeah.
And,
oh, really?
Yeah. And that's when we ran into you.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So, you know what? Nothing happens by accident.
And we did get our picture
Right.
with Kevin Feige as well.
We did. Oh, we should have gotten a picture
That's
with Joe,
amazing.
too.
Next time.
All right, Joe, tell everyone where they can read your stories and see that hashtag show.
Yes. Well, I write for ScreenRant, so that's ScreenRant.com. The junkets I did are coming out the same week as the movie. So you can check out my interviews there. Also, I'm on That Hashtag Show. That is on YouTube. It's pretty much just That Hashtag Show. It's youtube.com/That Hashtag Show TV. We also have a website, That Hashtag Show, which keeps you up to date with everything trending in geek pop culture.
Nice. All right.
Very nice.
And then, as we discussed a little earlier, are you on Twitter?
I am. I'm just getting familiar with it a little bit. You can find me at That Hashtag Show.
Okay.
Or on my personal Twitter account, it's at That Hashtag Joe.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Very nice.
Oh, so you, like Richard, are a baby Twitter. A baby
Yeah,
Twitter.
right? So it's so difficult for me.
You guys are cute. Well,
It's 140 characters. What do you do with that?
Exactly.
share GIFs, animated GIFs. Woohoo!
Isn't that a kind of peanut butter? Okay.
Oh.
All right. Now, if Groot were to wrap up this segment, what would he say?
We are Groot.
Groot.
Nice. Okay.
There you go.
That's a fake laugh.
It's real!
All right, so everyone, you got to remember, you must start trending hashtag Howard the Duck on Netflix.
So he gets his own series.
More hashtag homework, everyone. We've got to make this happen. So, not so much a film, but I think a animated cartoon series would just go huge. Speaking of which, we still have to watch Iron Fist.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah, if Howard the Duck were on, we'd watch the duck out of that.
Oh, hey.
What?
Hashtag Rich swears.
No, I didn't. I was very innocent and very family friendly.
Okay, whatever.
All right.
Hashtag homework, says Hector Rios. It's true. Now, just as a reminder, we will be posting the entire Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 press conference as bonus content on our feed later this week, on our podcast feed. So make sure you are following Skywalking Through Neverland on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, wherever you are following us. All right? So if you're anxious to hear more from the actors, James Gunn and Kevin Feige, stay tuned to our podcast feed.
All right, just as a note here, Justin Smith already hashtag that out. Hashtag Howard the Duck on Netflix. Now, stop doing hashtag Rich Swears. I did not. Stop.
And then hashtag Sarah Yawns. Did you see that?
Oh, look at this. Look, things are spiraling out of control.
And Michael Emke has joined us. Hi, Michael.
Hey,
Man,
Michael.
there's a lot of people up on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. All right, now, if you want to read our review on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, we'll head over to adventuresbydaddy.com for our full review with some minor spoilers.
And there's also some really, really cute pictures of Baby Groot.
There's some things that some major things that we would never spoil.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't even spoil within the episode.
Right. Yeah, and then also on adventuresbydaddy.com, look for a piece about the press conference, complete with pictures from the press conference. Because I know on this podcast, you can't see pictures of all the actors, and we were pretty close. Like I said, we were second row. So we got some good pictures from the event.
All right, now let's remind everyone about our Dancing Baby Groot contest.
Woohoo! Yes. So once again, we will be doing several giveaways on social media in and around the release of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but our current giveaway is winning this Baby Groot. So just head to skywalkingthroughneverland.com, click on the giveaway tab, and then follow the directions on that Rafflecopter widget that pops up. And you will be entered to win. And the more things you do on that Rafflecopter widget, the more entries you'll get to win this awesome Baby Groot.
All right, go ahead. Press the button. Press the button. It's not a red button, so I'll let Sarah push it. You notice it's not the song from the movie because they probably didn't want to pay this exorbitant fee for rights.
Oh, no. Oh,
but
man.
It's fun nonetheless.
It is. And once again, this contest is running until Monday, May 8th at midnight, and we will announce the winner on next week's episode 168. That will wrap up episode 167 of
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We would like to thank Joe Deckelmeier of That Hashtag Show, Dave Parfit of Adventures by Daddy, and all of you Skywalkers for taking the time out of your busy schedules and listening to us.
Now we want to remind everyone to send in your Star Wars memories. We want your memories from 1977, if you have them, if you were born. Or if not, then tell us about the first time you saw Star Wars. What scenes really stuck out? How it affected you? Anything having to do with Star Wars and having seen it, or how it affected you in terms of making friends, appreciating music, appreciating art, anything along those lines. We'd love to hear a 3 to 5 minute story. And once again, by May the 16th, send it in on a MP3 to share at skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
And the easiest way to do that is just do a voice memo on your phone and then email that once you've finished your voice memo. That's really cool to share at skywalkingthroughneverland.com. And now Amanda Bond brings up a good point. Some of us weren't born yet in 77.
Which is why I said if you weren't born, then go ahead and just share a Star Wars memory. When you first saw Star Wars, maybe it was the special editions in 97. But how Star Wars affected your life, or just a fun memory. When I first saw Star Wars, I was 4 years old, and it was 1999, and I remember this or that. Something specific, not so much a big spanning story that I saw Star Wars and I saw The Empire Strikes Back, and be very specific because that'll make for a tighter story.
It's true.
All right, is that clear now?
I think so.
All right, good. And remember, by May the 16th, which is the anniversary for Attack of the Clones. Hard to believe it's the 15th anniversary of Attack of the Clones.
Wow. Wow, it is?
Yes.
Holy buckets,
I
15.
know. It is.
Wow.
That's why I picked it.
Okay. Well, yay. Now, Skywalkers, we have a podcast soundtrack. Rob Dellinger has released an album on iTunes and all digital platforms entitled Skywalking Through Neverland Awesome Jingle Mix Volume 1. So if you get that, or if you stream it on any streaming service, you will be helping to support Rob Dellinger, which in turn helps support Skywalking Through Neverland, the show. Hi, Jessica Mucko. She's joined too.
Hey, Jessica. Now, speaking of Jessica Mucko, let's talk about our next big meetup.
Okay, on May the 4th, which is practically when this episode comes out, you will be able to meet us and all 3 authors of the Star Wars Encyclopedia at the Santa Monica Library from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. It's going to be super exciting. Trisha Barr, Cole Horton, and Adam Bray will all be there, and we will be moderating a short panel with them.
And they will be signing copies of Star Wars The Visual Encyclopedia. So if you have yours, bring it down. If you don't have yours, I'm sure they're going to be selling them there.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, they will. It is a library. It's not a bookstore.
So if you can't buy it, walk down to Barnes & Noble's down the street or check it out at the library itself.
You know what? I think I should ask Trisha about that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it will be available for purchasing.
It has been every single time we've done a book signing with them.
Yes. Okay. Well, also another meetup to look forward to is September 17th through 22nd, 2017. We are doing a 5-night skywalking Disney cruise to Baja, Mexico on the Disney Wonder. And that is a Halloween-themed cruise. It's going to be amazing.
I am so excited for this.
Oh, I'm so excited. And there are still a few more slots left. So if you would like to get more info, please email our friend, podcaster, and cruise buddy, Randy Crane, at cruise@storiesofthemagic.com. And you can just learn more about the cruise, get a free no-obligation quote, and just mention that you heard about it through Skywalking Through Neverland, and so that he knows you want to be a part of our group, because we'll have several meetups around the cruise. So, yeah.
All right, and then in December, we're going to get a chance to meet with our East Coast Skywalkers once again.
Yay! The week between Christmas and New Year's, we will be in Boston.
And my sister, Lisa, are you still with us? Because this is a good time to announce that we're going to be crashing at your place. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to tell you this yet.
Oh, okay.
You were at a show the other night, so I tried calling you, so this is how we're telling you. Congratulations, my sister Lisa.
Wow, so we are so excited to meet up with the Boston/East Coast contingent of Skywalkers, so we need to get together and watch The Last Jedi together and then grab a pint nearby. Because, I mean, that's what you do in Boston, right?
You betcha. And I'm so excited to see this The Last Jedi with my friend Jim Pruitt. Mm-hmm. Because growing up, we were Star Wars best friends.
Oh.
And we hadn't seen a Star Wars movie together since Return of the Jedi in 1983.
Wow.
So it'll be so much fun. And I always like seeing Star Wars films with my sister Lisa. And this will be my way to say thank you for letting us crash at your place, even though you don't know it until December 25th. We'll just show up.
Oh. Wow.
All right, now with that, let's name a couple of the fun shows you can hear on RetroZap.com.
Yes, like Brews and Blasters,
The Sandcaller Podcast,
Beltway Banthas,
The Deucecast Movie Show,
Starship Sabers and Scoundrels,
and Kanata's Castle.
Also, don't forget about Techno Retro Dads
and Talking Apes TV, where we're about to record the last episode of the animated TV series, Return to the Planet of the Apes. The last episode of that particular series.
Wow.
So that's going to be fun.
You can also find Skywalking Through Neverland at JediNews.co.uk, along with some articles that Richard has written there.
And if you want to catch up with us on social media, you can go to Twitter and go to @SkywalkingPod.
For Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope. And then also, please feel free to join our Facebook group. Just make sure that you're using that two-step process of requesting to join the group, and then also finding us somewhere else on social media and saying, hey, I want to join the group. I'm not a weirdo. I'm a Skywalker.
Right. And speaking of right, you can write us a review on iTunes.
Ooh.
Doesn't have to be a 5-star. We want you to be honest, like we always say.
Mm-hmm.
Write what you feel. We love to hear it.
Absolutely.
Yes. If they're a great review, then it'll just feed into our insufferable egos. All right, with that, stay tuned for after the credits to the show, so you can hear some bits of outtakes and bloopers. And when we were talking with Joe Deckelmeier, we had a lot of fun stuff to talk about, but it wasn't
relevant.
It wasn't relevant to the conversation, so we took it out and put it at the very, very end.
Yes.
All right, with that, we got to say goodnight, but always remember
to not yawn while you're podcasting. And
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
to our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said.
No.
Hey, Peter, my sister says, hey, Peter, on
Periscope.
On Periscope. Okay,
and,
Lisa.
And Peter says, hey, hey.
Peter says, hey, hey.
On Facebook. Okay. This is funny. To go and see everything. Yeah, Melissa Parsons. Oh, yeah. Chris Pratt was like looking right at me. We were in the second row.
Yeah.
And like, yeah.
Well, there were a lot of funny stuff.
Yeah.
And if you listen on the press conference audio, I've got a very distinct laugh. So they would always look at me, and then they would look at Sarah and go, "Is that the sweetie wife Sarah you heard so much about?"
Yeah, man. No, I'm just okay. Oh, and David Taylor already hashtag make Hujibs canon. I love it.
Thanks. Thank you.
And Gabriel Kolbaugh brought up the fact that he and Amanda got a selfie with Pablo Hidalgo. And Pablo instantly recognized Amanda's Hujib ears for what they were. So, woohoo! Thank you so much for getting that Skywalker selfie, you guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's a good picture to keep on tweeting out.
Yeah. Gabriel and Amanda, way to go.
Yeah, with Pablo, that picture, that's going to speak volumes. Now, Ryan Stampley is asking, wasn't Howard the Duck's girlfriend everyone's favorite drink? The Beverly Switzler.
Eh?
The Beverly Switzler.
Is that a drink?
I guess. Maybe in Australia. All right, Ryan, we need some background on this. Maybe that... Oh, wait. Oh! I just put it together. Leah Thompson played who in Howard the Duck? Howard's girlfriend named Beverly.
Oh, the Beverly!
Wow. That's funny.
You're getting stuck on the last name.
Yeah.
Oh, Beverly, the bad drink from Epcot.
Yes, stay away from the Beverly.
Now remind us what happens in this sequence?
Don't ask me that because I forget.
Oh. Oops. Yeah, not uppity is not the right word, but it's very Shakespearean
right.
in a way. Partly because you got that director, what's his name?
His name is, I can see him, from Harry Potter.
Yes.
His name is, I want to say Marvin Hamlish, but that's so not it.
No, that's
with the new Thor film?
Yeah, the director of the first one.
The first
one. The first one. It's Kenneth Branagh?
Kenneth Branagh. Yeah. Kenneth Branagh, yeah. Yeah, because he's so Shakespearean, so Thor kind of took that tone. All right, Richard, so explain.
Marvel had Mr. Fantastic and the Fantastic Four. DC had Elastic Man. It's like when one has the Atom, the other one has Ant-Man.
Oh, wow.
One has Superman.
X-Men?
DC had Superman, so Marvel needed someone as patriotic, so they had Captain America.
Right.
So this was DC's answer to Mr. Fantastic and the Fantastic Four. Pretty much he was someone who could stretch.
Is this the guy that wears the red, like, onesie?
Yes. Yes.
With the glasses?
With the goggles? Yeah.
Yes, okay.
That's Elastic Man.
You do know who he is.
I do, yes.
You know, him and Dave
Right.
Filoni are going to do a river dance together. Start a river dance.
River dance?
Yeah. No, they're the people who, with their feet,
Oh,
you know, they...
yeah. Okay, they dance around
they
the
dance
top.
around, yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I see where you're going with
Yeah,
that.
Thanks. Even though I have to explain it. Did I make it funny? I made it funny. Yay. All right.
And never to swear. I don't swear.
I'm a Skywalker weirdo. Oh, hashtag not a weirdo. You guys are cute. Okay. Well, is that it? I think, well, our chicken's done.
Yeah. Dinner's ready.
All right, dinner's ready.